We're just getting older, world is getting colder. Trying to get sober, Lord help me get stronger. World is on my shoulders.
How you doing today? This is the 12 of 12 podcast, the podcast about real life recovery, growth and development, redemption, because that's what this is about. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do us a favor, tap that subscribe button and share for more. Also, we are sponsored by no other than First Step Recovery. If you need any help with mental illness or mental illness is causing you to use any type of substances, please don't wait, don't hesitate, reach out, call the number you see up top today. Our outreach specialist will be happy to help you. We have a special guest today, Emma.
Hello.
How you doing, Miss Emma?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, doing great, doing great. Glad you was able to come on and bless us with your presence finally.
Finally.
Finally. Okay, so we're going to talk about a discussion today, and it's about life a year after recovering. A year after recovery. You know, during the first year, a lot of different things happen. You're going through changes, you're going through mental changes, physical changes, emotional, spiritual, everything. You're just going through all type of changes. Mm-hmm. And then you try to find that direction that you're going to and what you're going to do next. And then a lot of people, once they reach that year mark, it's like a milestone mark, you know, from 1 year, then 2 years, and so on and so on. So we're going to talk about that first year. First off, tell us where you're from.
Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville, Kentucky?
Yep, born and raised.
How you like it here in Louisville?
I really like it a lot because I think we have like a lot of culture and historical things. Like I think a lot of the architecture here is amazing. I actually grew up in Old Louisville, so there's a lot of architecture there.
Yeah, so you got the Old Louisville. What's the difference between, what's the Old Louisville and New Louisville for people who might come and visit?
So Old Louisville is where the houses are like a lot more historic. They usually have plaques on them. The St. James Art Fair happens there once a year. It's like the biggest art festival in the world, or at least in America it is. It's a time for everybody in the world to come and advertise and show off all their art that they do there. And when I was little, it felt like Christmas time every single time. And I know it's illegal to do this now, but I didn't know as a kid. So like when everybody left and stuff and the booths would be all set up and like, you know, zipped down and stuff, I would go and crawl under them and everything to see all the cool art that they had everywhere. Because it was like my time to get to see it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Old Louisville is it's very historic. They have a tree there that has to do with like witches from back in the day. I really don't know a whole lot about that, but if you go online, you can check it out there. And it's just the historical aspect. A lot of cities break down all these beautiful buildings and they don't renovate them. And Louisville is actually really big on preserving our historical buildings and so forth. So that's Old Louisville. And then now you have New Lou, which is the New Louisville, which is like East Washington, that kind of area. And they've made that kind of like the newer, a little bit more modern side of Old Louisville.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay. I realized that since I got here that the opioid epidemic hit real hard here in Louisville. Have you ever used substances before?
Absolutely.
When was the first time you used?
Oh, shoot. Anything?
Yeah.
When I was little, I tried my first cigarette when I was like about 7 or 8, I want to say. Somebody at the playground had them that was older. So I tried that for the first time then. And then when it came on to alcohol, I was 13 years old. A friend of mine, her mom was like, you know what? If you all are going to do it, I'd rather just buy the pint for you all and you do it here at the home so you're safe and yada, yada, yada. And that was the first time I remember being like, holy crap, I am free. Like I remember that like it was yesterday. It was just like the sound in my head stopped. Because I've always been an anxious individual. Ever since I was a kid, I had separation anxiety really, really bad, ADHD really, really bad, and I had the female symptoms, which, although I was still diagnosed with ADHD, female symptoms and male symptoms are different. They're not as much hyperactivity. They're a lot more of like kind of just looking off into the distance, being stuck in the head and so forth, not being able to pay attention, if it's not interesting to me, I'm not there kind of thing. So I really, really, really struggled throughout my entire education and I pretty much felt like I wasn't going to accomplish anything in life I just thought I wasn't intelligent enough to do so. So, so of course, because of that, because of, mental health and being born that way, that is what it seemed like. I mean, I grew up in a household that was me, my mother, and my father, and on the outside, I mean, we had it pretty good. And both my parents worked, and mom's a lawyer. Dad worked high up at this place that it's called Vincor. And so money was never an issue until my parents got divorced and things changed a whole lot. But when I really started the use was after my parents got divorced, because I was so controlled. My mom knew everything bad that happened out there. Yeah. So she was she was doing the best that she could as a parent. Same with my dad. But they controlled me so much to where it's like I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't even thinking that way. I was very ignorant. But then I wanted to rebel, because it's like when your parents get divorced, they're not there as much as they used to be. And I'm an only child, only grandchild. Aunts and uncles don't have kids. I'm it. Mm-hmm. And so I was alone a lot. Yeah. And so when you're alone, as far as ADHD goes, boredom is like my kryptonite. Mm. And that's when I get stuck in my head. And so I start getting into trouble. That's where that impulsivity comes. That's where all that comes from. And so I noticed that when I drank alcohol, the anxiety went away. And I felt free. I felt like I could be the person that I wanted to be, which was more talkative, not socially awkward, not worry about this, that, and the other, just free.
So it made you care less?
Correct. Very much less. I cared so much that it was crippling. And then this made me care so less that it was dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If that can kind of make sense, that's where it basically led to.
You were just trying to create a balance for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was self-medicating.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, and then that's what led to eventually stimulants. When I found Adderall in high school, I felt like someone, you know how they talk about like beer goggles and stuff or whatever, you take off the beer goggles and you're like, holy crap, who is this person right next to me? Yeah. Well, when I took Adderall for the first time, first of all, it was a pill I was just given, and which is very dangerous, by the way. Mm-hmm. So it's very dangerous to take a pill that you don't know what it is, okay? Even if you know what it is, be very cautious, because things can do a variety of different things to everybody. And so when I tried Adderall for the first time, it was like putting on glasses for the first time, because I was so ADHD my entire life. Like I was able to complete a full sentence without getting distracted onto something else. Like I actually felt competent. I felt like I could accomplish something. Mm-hmm. And when you're told as a little kid that, or you're harped on as a little kid for your entire life for forgetting things or not doing well in school, and I don't know if anybody remembers, but in the 90s, how they taught kids with ADHD, especially females, it was categorized as this bad behavior. So you were a bad child. You acted the way you did.
So they put you in like one of the bad classes.
No, they never did. Interesting enough, they never did. I was never an 8, but it was like, I think it's because they knew that there was something there, but they didn't give a crap enough to actually, like, they knew I was really good at music. I performed in at the time it was the Fabulous Leopard Percussionist, and it is now the Louisville Leopard Percussionist. Danny Markham, she's an amazing drummer. She has worked with Childish Gambino and a whole lot of artists. Then my friend Hannah Welton, she performed with Prince before he passed away and so forth. So a lot of people come together, and Diane Downs was the director of that program and taught all of us kids how to learn how to play all the percussion instruments by heart. And I think that was a saving grace in a sense, because I realized being neurodivergent brain, if I have something creative, then I excel at it, which is kind of an ADHD thing. It's like if you show me how to do something one time, chances are I can figure out how to do it again. I'm not trying to talk about myself like, oh my God, I'm so great. That's just how it works out kind of thing. That's the best way to explain it. If I'm interested in it, I'm gonna go full throttle. Yeah. But sometimes I sit back because it's hard. If I don't think I can, then I shut down. And I'm like, I don't want to touch that if I can't perfect it. Yeah. So I think learning music at a young age and being able to express myself, I think that saved me in elementary school to where I wasn't ever in a class that was potentially for individuals who needed a little bit extra help. I wasn't in high school either. I just think that they just thought I wasn't capable of much more, which I've taken to so many tests on IQ to where it was just like, yeah, she's pretty much just gonna be stupid for the rest of her life. I mean, that's what it felt like to me as a kid perspective. It's just like, she'll, we'll see what happens kind of thing. So I was my parents never told me that. My mom always thought that I was capable of more. It was can I do it? Can I get that motivation to do it? My dad always thought the same thing too. They were very supportive of me, and they never told me that. They always told me that I was talented, beautiful, great, kind, all these things, but it doesn't matter. Unfortunately, when your inner self feels like shame every day. And that's what I've kind of found out in my journey along the way of being sober and doing different therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy and now EMDR. It's like, what's that inner voice telling you? And I realized that my core belief of self is shame. And so I'm going through the journey now of trying to discover, why is that? Why do I have this? You know what I mean?
Dang, that's kind of tough as a child too, that people don't understand you. I mean, I know it was definitely different back in the 90s, man. Teachers, they didn't really care. It seemed like it was completely different, man.
Different.
Like if you're just kind of off the spectrum a little bit, man, they'll just throw you in a class somewhere and they don't even care about you really.
It's an associated as bad behavior.
Yeah,
you're just a bad kid with bad behavior.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's what it was associated with, rather than today we're having a lot more knowledge. I mean, I don't think that people realize the amount of studies that are done on men compared to women. And I want to point this out because there seems like there's this uproar of like HRT, so hormone replacement therapy, for example. And I'm not a doctor, okay? I'm not acting like I'm a doctor. Go look it up yourself, however you want. But the lack of medicinal research for women's brains compared to men is lacking so much that we die early from it. It's like hormone replacement therapy isn't given to women past 5 years because it's thought that it causes breast cancer, that the side effects are so bad, blah, 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 blah. Well, now all of a sudden, HRT is actually, it helps us live longer. We've actually found it's like we have these rare cases where yes, it can cause breast cancer, but you have a risk in anything that you take. I have a risk in any medical thing that I utilize. I have a risk when I walk outside. Not maybe as much of I actually don't know the statistics of that risk of like walking outside compared to doing HRT for more than 5 years. I don't know what that is. But I know that it has changed women's lives in this premenopausal era that people don't talk about, that I didn't even know was a thing, perimenopause. It's like the menopause before freaking menopause that women have to go through, and then the post-menopause. It's all this great stuff that we have to go through that they don't really talk about. And it's rough to feel like you don't have, like, that women have to act accordingly because that is what society wants us to do. And so now it feels like the medical field, due to AI, due to these things, more women coming into the field, we're like, no, we need help. What can we do? Like, let's put more research and time and energy into these things so that we can help women in the future. Yeah,
it seems like they're continuously finding out stuff or debunking certain myths and things like that. But it's the more, we're humans and nobody knows everything, so we just continue to learn different things.
Absolutely.
Like, it just seemed not too long ago they were saying, hey man, it's good to have a drink of alcohol every night. Take a shot of bourbon, it's good for you. Do this every night, man, it's good for your blood. Now it comes out here, man, alcohol causes cancer. Not even one drop is good for you anymore. So like, hold on, I thought
kills
you was
your
just...
brain cells.
Yeah, it then affects your brain and everything. But they were saying it's healthy. But like years ago, they was like, oh, it's healthy. You should take a drink every day. It's good for you. Nothing now is gonna kill you if you take any of it because of ethanol and all type of other stuff in it. So it's like, it's always something they're figuring out.
Yeah.
I was just having a discussion not too long ago about, I remember back in the day they used to smoke inside of the restaurants.
I know.
And
Smoking
we kids, you got the
sections.
babies in there, the babies freaking
I had
toddlers, freaking 6
asthma.
months old.
And it
People
was
blowing
awful.
it down. It's like you're in the club, they're blowing down smoking, and you're out in the club, and it's
Yes.
like, man, hold on, is this even healthy? I knew
No,
it was
it's
doing
not.
something to me because I'm
It's-
hacking smoke everywhere.
And then who knows what's going to happen with vapes over time?
Yeah, but vapes.
I mean, I really don't know.
The study's not even there to show really what's
Because
gonna
we
happen
haven't
with
had
it.
longitudinal, like people think
It
that
ain't been around
research
long
is just
enough.
this cut and dry thing, okay? I actually had to do research in college. It is so much more intense than that. You're
Yeah.
talking statistics, you're talking all these things that you have to, and you have to make sure your resources are correct. And now we live in a generation of false, I can't think of the word, of debunking everything. You hear one thing on the internet that sounds like it could be true, and then it spreads like wildfire.
Yeah.
And I'm
now
not
a lie
going to
could
get
be
into
the truth.
politics. I'm not going to get into whole the vaccination thing. I think I am pro. You want to do whatever you want to do with your body. That's your decision. I'm not here to force it. I just know for me personally that the flu vaccination and the pneumonia vaccination, the COVID vaccination, those vaccinations saved my life as a kid because I was such a chronically ill asthmatic child. And I was allergic to, we found out, Christmas trees.
What?
Yes. And I literally was in the hospital on Christmas with pneumonia. And if you've ever heard a baby with RSV, look it up. It's traumatizing. So, for me to smoke cigarettes now, my mom hates it, believe me, because she had to hear it. I mean, it's a horrible sound. And like, that's why they say that they don't kiss babies when they're newborns, because you can give them things that can kill them.
Yeah.
And it's like they can't.
Yeah, you don't do
they
that.
can't breathe. They can't cough up the crap that's in their chest. So it literally, just look it up online. It's horrible. You'll think twice. So yeah, I got RSV before 6 months. That actually caused me to have asthma long term. My asthma is much better now because I've done allergy shots throughout my life. I don't know what it was about COVID, but that brought it back. Like, it's like everybody stayed away for that year, and it's like all the pollen and shit was just like, hey, let's get together and hang out. And I feel like everyone has allergy issues now.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
And so, but the allergy shots really, really helped, and that saved my life because that saved me from having asthma attacks all the time.
Yeah.
I personally believe in the holistic approach. That first year of recovery, hate to break it to y'all, just focus on getting sober. Just focus on staying sober and living life that way and how that's going to look. You have got to find something. You have got to find support that is going to help you, okay? That can be people who are that still drink, that still smoke weed or whatever. I mean, if you're hanging out with people that are chronic users who clearly need to be in the rooms themselves or they need help themselves, that's a little different. I'm not talking about that, but like I have my support are my friends that I've had since I was 12 years old, okay? They support me every step of the way. Have we had one of my friends I've reconnected with recently, and we had like a 6-year hiatus where we didn't talk for a long time because we had some differences. And I'm very grateful now because we're adults and we're able to come to like, literally, let's never have that happen again. Because we've had a lot of death in the past few years, and we notice how fragile life is, and we don't ever want it to happen like that again and stuff. So I think those friends, those people that are truly there for your support, they don't have to be sober, in my opinion. If they are encouraging you to use or encouraging you to engage in behavior that you should not be, that's a different story. I'm not saying everyone applies for that, but my friends are my soul sisters. They're like my twin flames. Like, there's all these different types of love in the world. It doesn't have to be romantic. But I believe that twin flames are like people that they just get each other and they can't really explain why. And it could be due to the fact that they have the same mental health disorder, trauma bonding, who knows, all the negative context we have because everything has to be negative. Or it could be the fact that the universe brought us together for a reason, and our higher power, whatever that may be, brought us there for a reason, and we just get each other. And to be understood in this world is very, very hard and we feel judged. There's constant judgment on social media. There's constant judgment on the streets. And so when we find those individuals that love us for who we are in every shape and form, that validation right there, there's no price on that. That's my biggest thing, because if your core belief is shame, you feel unworthy, right? You feel unworthy of everyone's love. But then when you find those people that are willing to take that shame, that burden, that whatever it is, the nitty gritty part of you, and still accept you, it's like, holy crap, like I've arrived, like nothing else matters.
You got real friends, that means I definitely agree on something. Y'all definitely are compatible in some way, shape, or form. And I believe in the Bible, it says two can't walk together unless they're in agreement. So I'm not gonna vibe with you hard if I don't agree with you about some things. We have to have the same type of mindset.
Yes, we
to be
have
able to sit back and vibe. Otherwise,
correct.
I'm not gonna
Otherwise,
really
it ain't
click
even
with,
gonna start that. Yes,
we're not
no,
even
for
gonna
sure.
we're not even gonna click
No,
like that.
we
It
definitely
might not
have-
even be nothing wrong with you. You know, it's nothing wrong with you. It's
No,
just
it's
you
a
know,
difference of beliefs,
we got
yes.
different beliefs. We got different vibes. It's just like, yo, you know what, man? This is how I am. This is my attitude. This is their
Yes.
attitude. We click more than y'all click. So
Yes.
it really comes down to that. After your first year, what's some of the biggest changes you noticed?
Oh my gosh, everything. Because you want to believe, okay, so I started off in AA. My therapist, I am going to name here because I can, Jim Kleins, he's been with me from the get-go, okay? He's my OG therapist. And he met me before I stopped using. And it got to a part where I had woken up and it was my final time I had used. I had no idea where I was. And it was a really, really bad situation. Called my mom. I was like, I can't do this anymore. She was like, I can't do this anymore either, Emma. We're going to have to do something. And when I admitted that out loud to my parent, and then I called my dad, and I said, I need help. Can I stay with you for a little while so I can stay out of the Highlands, kind of stay out old people places and things? I need a break, but I don't want to go in treatment for whatever reason. And so I immediately went into a session with my therapist at the time, Jim Kleins. He was phenomenal, and honestly, I gave him a lot of props. I know I did the work, but he validated me for the first time in my life, I feel like, ever, up until that point, without judgment, without nothing. I couldn't tell him anything that was going to potentially cause him to hate me, to think I'm effed up or anything like that. You know, he literally, it was just completely like, just active listening and giving different perspectives, and it was amazing. It was a godsend. And I met with him weekly, and he said, okay, so we can do one or two things. You can either do 90 and 90, go to 90 meetings in 90 days, or you can go inpatient. But if you don't do one of those two, I will no longer see you as a therapist, because it's the same thing as if I'm a medical professional, you're coming to me and you have diabetes and you're not treating it with your insulin. If I know you're not treating it with your insulin, I'm not giving you, you know, like, I'm a professional telling you what you need to do. And if you're not doing it, I can no longer see you. And that scared me. And so I was like, fine, screw it. Yeah, let's do this 90 and 90. Woohoo! Can't wait to go and do 90 meetings in 90 days. Because I dropped out of my second semester of college at this point. Because I was like, what's the point? I'm not even going at right now. And I needed to kind of reevaluate where my life was. And we learned a lot of coping tools and everything. And it really started off like I went back to school the following semester. And I was very against the pharmaceutical company and all this kind of stuff. And like being on medications and stuff, you know, was just not a good thing and blah, blah, blah. Little did I realize down the road, it's like, bro, my primary is mental health.
Yeah.
Like, I was born this way, okay? And then trauma occurs. And let me just point this out. In the 90s, we're taught that trauma is, when you think of trauma, you think of a war veteran, okay? That's in a massive combat battle situation. It's horrible situation, all right? You think of the worst scenario. And then if you think of, oh my gosh, what was the other one? Say if you think rape, okay? What we're taught, it's like this gruesome thing, like you're walking down the alleyway and all of a sudden this guy catches you and and something happens behind a dumpster, and then you're just like left for dead kind of thing, and hopefully you'll be found and blah, 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 blah. That's what it was drilled into our head, is what it was, what combat trauma was, what PTSD was in general, post-traumatic stress disorder, what that was in general. And then now recently, what we have found, The Body Keeps a Score. It's an amazing book if you want to read a book on trauma, because this actually helped me realize when my mental health is flaring up is because I felt it in my body first. And apparently we all do. It's just, if you're not self-aware, you can't see the signs. And mine is always, I start to get nauseous first for no reason. And like, if I leave the house, I start to get more nauseous. So like an agoraphobia type happens. My hands will start cracking and bleeding because I'm washing them so much that they'll just continue to crack and crack and crack. Hand sanitizer, I can't touch doorknobs. Which it's interesting how much people give you crap for that. Like, you're implying that they're dirty, so you don't want to, like, I will always do this. Like, I would take my shirt and then I will touch the door or whatever, and they would always, a lot of people make comments about that.
I mean, I do that. I mean, I do that sometimes. I would do that
at a hospital. I don't want to be touching crap.
Yeah, sometimes I get a paper towel, wash my hands, and I just be shooting.
Exactly.
You know, because I mean, try to keep some hand sanitizer. You just don't ever know. I mean,
it's just the way it is. But like, I'm saying, the judgment associated around it. OCD was just known as a cleanliness, as an organization thing. I didn't know I had OCD for the longest time until it took my primary care physician and my therapist and my psychiatrist to say, Emma, although you don't organize your shoes accordingly, you also have to check your temperature 15 times a day because you think you have something going on that can kill you. And if you don't catch it in time, like if you don't catch that you have a fever in time, then you're going to end up in the ER and you're going to end up dead. Yeah. And that's not normal to have to buy 15 thermometers a day. Okay? Like, that's insane. But for whatever reason, trauma, mental health, all these things have evolved, thank goodness. And when I learned, it was during COVID, I remember it was like this aha moment after I had my son. And we were spending a lot of time at home. And I realized of all these events, because I was talking with my friends, via video conference and stuff like that. And I was like, y'all, I'm having a bunch of stuff coming up that I just, like, how much sexual assault has happened to us, and I'm not trying to get sympathy. This is not what that is. I'm trying to speak to the other women out there that struggle with this or feel like they're alone, because I've talked to women who say, well, I don't want to say I was raped, but you were. You know what I mean? I would not say that to them because I'm not a medical professional or a licensed professional to say that. But in the back of my head, I'm just like, why is it we have a hard time saying that we raped? Why is it we have a hard time saying that we were assaulted? Mm-hmm. Because literally society has made us feel like it has to be the most gruesome thing known to man for it to happen. You know what I mean? In order for it to be considered as such. Like in law, we have all these different degrees of molestation, of assault of any kind, all these different degrees. And if you don't know the law, you have no idea. So how are we supposed to educate ourselves? You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that when we all discuss, me and my friends, because we're very much like this, and we started the process of EMDR, it brought up a lot of the trauma and what trauma was. And we really dug deep into that, because it's like, it's not about the trauma, it's how our brain reacts to a potential traumatic event that feels severe, that feels threatening to us. Like, although I'm sitting here, and luckily I'm very comfortable with you, you know what I mean? Like, we've talked, we shoot the crap or whatever, and we have conversations. I feel totally comfortable with you. But that's not always the case with just anybody. I don't like being stuck in a room with people I don't know all the time, because I have to know, first of all, my back has to be to the point where there's a wall here, all right? Or I don't like sometimes that there's a door there, because then that means someone can come in. And I mean, it's anxiety ridden.
Yeah,
And
extreme anxiety type thing. Right?
Yes, and it's survival mode. So it's like I'm automatically observing my surroundings of, okay, there's a door right there. It has a lock, but it also has a push to exit button, so I can still get out in time if I had to run. And then this over here, maybe if I fall on the floor and like roll out of the door, I don't know, like anything.
Any
But
type of
how
scenario,
many,
try to figure it out.
how many times do you think of that?
I think
honestly?
about it every day.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe, but would you
Every
say
day.
the typical male does?
I'm not.
That
I
feels
mean-
confident in themselves to
I mean-
fight themselves off of another person.
I mean, they
Because
might
maybe they
not-
do, and I just don't know.
I mean, as far as I know I do just because I've been in a whole lot of dangerous situations. So
due to your
I've been through a
past.
lot of stuff. So, but as far as like the average person, I don't know what the average male. I don't know what they do. I know they try to. As far as since we're supposed to be the ones who's supposed to be on
Correct.
point and protect them and
Correct.
things, I think it's just a smart thing to do if you're out there in society, just really to pay attention to your surroundings so you won't get. I think everybody should just be automatically taught that, to be honest. Like, yo, just pay attention. Don't ever get, because just anybody, you can look on the news and just see how many people in society goes through things. They have drills for a reason. You know, you go to school, you have, hey, now it's, if you go to school, you gotta have shooting drills. If somebody comes through and just starts shooting everything, shooting the spot up,
And that's
what are you gonna do,
terrifying.
you know? If you're in this area and this happens, if a fire happens, if a bomb threat happens, and like the society that we just live in, if you don't, and this is me personally thinking, if you don't think about these things, you're literally just waiting to get picked off at any given moment. But that's just, like I said, I've been through some things.
But you've been through some things
but
to where
some people
you've
who
had
haven't
to.
been, yeah, some people who
Correct.
haven't. I see some guys and they just seem like they just don't pay attention, and I'm just like, this is crazy to me. But I understand my normal might not be the next person's normal, so
Correct.
I'm not really sure. But a lot of the guys that I'm with and so, that I be around, they kind of pay attention to the same thing. Maybe because they've been through a lot of crap too. But I don't know if it's just. I think it's something you gotta learn, not something that.
Do you think it's a learned behavior?
Yeah. I
Okay.
definitely think it's a learned behavior because there's certain things that I
I mean,
didn't have
surely
to.
we don't come out of the womb thinking like,
Yeah.
we're gonna get, you know.
Yeah, as a kid, as a child, I wasn't thinking this way. I was thinking it's more
Exactly.
safer than what happens is one thing happens, then another thing happens,
Yes.
then another thing, and then
Correct.
throughout life. Now you're sitting here 40 years old and okay, I moved the way that I moved because I done been through all this bull crap throughout
Correct.
my life. One trauma after another trauma after another trauma.
So now
and
we
then I
are
did-
the product.
Yeah.
We try not to be the product of our
Yeah.
trauma, right? That's the whole goal. Is that
Yeah.
we don't want. What we know now is that with trauma, now that we're experiencing. Have you ever heard of the ACE score or the ACE test?
No.
Adverse Childhood Experience Test. It's a well-used test that anyone can take. You don't have to have a psychologist or a therapist or anybody to conduct it for you. Maybe you do, but I don't believe you do. So fact check me on that one. But it's a really good way to look at but you answer them as accordingly before the age of 18 if these 10 things have happened to you in life, okay? Once you get to number 4 of yes, that they have, the likelihood of you experiencing addiction, experiencing sexual assault, experiencing heart disease, experiencing the likelihood to smoke cigarettes, to be incarcerated yourself, to be in programming, all these things go up after 4, okay? And sometimes when you take it, you're like, holy, I mean, I've had individuals that are 10 out of 10, okay? That means the likelihood of those individuals succeeding in life are close to 0, which I try to explain that to those individuals. It's like, do not let this be a discouragement to you. Let that be the fact, because I'm a science person. I'm like, you're an anomaly. The fact that you're still alive. You know what I mean? Like that's what science can't figure out. So show why, be part of that culture where it's like, yeah, I have a freaking 10 out of 10 ACE score. I've been through so much, yet here I am. And here's what I've accomplished and what I've processed. I don't even care because there's people in the rooms of AA that will stand up, and AA has changed tremendously from when I got sober. I got sober February 9th of 2009, okay? In the past 16 years, it has changed drastically. When I got sober, it was the mindset of feeling pity on yourself for, because I was 18 when I got sober. So I was very much immature and very much just like, oh, woe is me. I got this problem and I can't drink anymore because I do stupid stuff and blah. And it was a temporary sponsor, and she's just like, why are you looking at this like a bad thing? Like, just removing alcohol isn't the worst thing to do. You know what I mean? Like, it'll help you focus on the stuff that you need to in life. And so AA was a lot more, let's stop with the pity, okay? And let's look at the solution. Let's look at ways to help Emma today. Let's work on these things. The 12 steps is simply a tool to use that anyone can use because we all have an addiction of some sort. I don't give a crap what it is. It could be energy drinks, something that's affecting your life. Gambling is a huge one. Addiction, one things that we don't talk about, addiction to the lifestyle, the criminality, like no one talks about that. It's like, how is it you expect someone to go from making $5,000 in 5 seconds, okay, who has 6 children at home potentially that they need to feed, to logically say, oh, nope, not going to do that anymore. I'm going to go work at McDonald's, work my butt off for 50 hours a week, barely making ends meet, have to be on government support because how else am I going to feed everybody, including myself? You barely get to see your kids and they get into shit. It's just all, the system isn't meant for us to succeed. Okay, so logically, it makes sense to want to do a drug deal that $5,000, 5 minutes, boom, your family is set for a month. You know what I mean? As opposed to going to McDonald's, working 60 hours a week, not seeing your family. Therefore, it's hurting the kids. It's hurting your relationship with your partner. You're exhausted because you feel like you can't do anything right. It's just, it makes total logical sense, but it's illegal. That's the problem. So there's and people get addicted to the lifestyle, that chaos, that rush, that adrenaline, more than they do to the drug itself, more than anything. And we don't treat it. We don't treat it at all.
You gotta look at it, man. Just like a lot of people who's in gangs and organizations like that, a lot of them get addicted to that stuff, man. And then it's like they didn't even have to go. They didn't even have to go overseas to go to war. They're going to war right there in their own neighborhood.
In their own neighborhood.
And then they get addicted to the lifestyle, and then they have to go through a whole transformation just for a person to be able to just, I guess, evolve in society to become a better person, because if they're this way here, they got to transform how they are and be used to, I'm used to shootouts happening. I'm used to going through these fights. So I'm used to this, or looking at this person that way. Or if a person is just a hateful person, hate a person because of the color of the skin, race groups, hate groups, or whatever like that there. If they change their mindset, they got to get used to being around people who's different. They got to be used to being around the different areas. And that takes a lot. And that's the same thing like we were talking about, once you go through that change and sobriety, and then you get to that year mark, then all of a sudden, a lot of things start happening. So you talked about what's the biggest thing you noticed, and what's some of the accomplishments that you're proud of being
My
sober
son
right
is
now?
number one. Having my son is number one. And I'm not going to say, I call him Ollie. I'm not going to say his full name. But I might get a little teary-eyed think about it, honestly, because before Oliver, I had a very traumatic miscarriage, and that's when I found my mental health. It was one of the scariest moments of my life when I went through that, because I felt like I could never get back to normal, that I almost bled to death in the ER for over 8 hours. I'm sorry if this is graphic or anything like that, but it's the reality of what women go through. And now, if that were to happen, I would have to drive to Illinois to get the same procedure, and I would have died. So it scares me. For people who have been through a miscarriage, it's not they call it, first of all, a spontaneous abortion on the medical stuff. I'm not choosing to get an abortion. I had a freaking miscarriage, but that's what they call it medically, okay? So it's not just I'm choosing to end this life, okay? It is, I found out at my ultrasound At 13 and a half weeks, that the babies, pregnant with twins, had passed. One had passed at 7.5 weeks, the other one at 9.5 weeks. So, and I knew the minute I saw it on the ultra screen, and my dad and my mom were there to see the ultra screen, thank God. And I had a feeling that they needed to be there, and my husband. And we looked at the screen, and I realized that it was the exact same size as the last time I went. And then there was no heartbeat. And so, didn't know a miscarriage naturally can happen for over a week. Until then you have to go to the ER, because then that means they're not getting all the stuff. The stuff has to come out eventually, because otherwise it's dead tissue, which your body will then go and, is it septic, sepsis? Which one is it? It's basically a blood infection, you die, okay? I never remember what to call it. I know septic is like a septic tank, so I'm thinking it's sepsis. And so I had to be in the ER because I wouldn't stop bleeding. I had to be in the ER for over 8+ hours, completely, fully awake. I was scared of doing morphine for pain. And then towards the end of all of it, I ended up saying, like, give me the morphine, because I couldn't endure the pain anymore. Like, I was awake the entire time as they were doing every procedure. And had I been able just to do the D&C, which is an abortion, if I had picked that prior, then that would have been not any of that. And a month later, I started not being able to function mentally. And I was in my last semester of college. I felt like I couldn't talk on the phone. I felt like I dropped like 20 pounds within that month. I couldn't go outside. It was the scariest thing I've ever been through my entire life. And it wasn't the almost dying from blood loss, okay? Because I just wouldn't stop bleeding. It was from the fact that my mind was making me feel this way. And it's not the same as if I took a knife somewhere and I cut my arm off and said, okay, look, you can see I'm bleeding right there, and that freaking hurts. Mm-hmm. You can empathize with that. You can feel it probably in your own arm, a slight little tingle like, ugh, that looks like it hurts, right? But when it's in your head, people can't see that. Mm-hmm. So they just think you're crazy, or they think that you want attention, or they think that you're being lazy and don't want to have to deal with something or whatever. When in fact, I had to fight every day to get out of bed, to go to school, to finish up to get my freaking degree, to do my internship at drug court so that I could continue to succeed in life. And it was the hardest thing I've ever been through. And it was the biggest accomplishment as well, because I did get to the other side. I went to my therapist. I did my therapy work. I talked to my friends. I was open and honest. I held my support close. I did a lot of work on myself, and that's where I learned that my primary above all was my mental health before the drugs and alcohol ever occurred. It took that long. It took, my son will be 7 this year, so it took 8 or 9 years after my first year to figure out, holy crap, like I've been using all this time because of my mental health. And I would see the signs prior. I became self-aware from that experience because I noticed I started getting nauseous. I noticed my sleep was affected. I noticed that if I ate something, anything, my favorite dish, I would start to gag. I could not eat it. So then I would start to lose weight. I'd be paranoid. It's so hard to explain the things that are in your head versus what you can see physically. Mm-hmm. And people lack, at least in this country, I believe, whatever, you can fight me on that. But in this country, we lack so much freaking empathy for one another. It's terrifying because I hope that my worst enemy never ever has to go through something like that, where your mind is literally playing tricks on you and you have to battle that constantly with reality. It's your anxiety, your OCD, everything's telling you it's one way. Oh, you better go check your temperature again because it might be wrong and you might have a fever. And then if you have a fever, then you're going to go get sepsis and then you're going to die, as opposed to, Emma, there is absolutely no sign that you have a freaking fever at all. No reason at all. So think about battling that in your head alone, silently, 24/7 until you go to sleep. That's really freaking hard to do. And then when you have an offspring, you're terrified that that's going to happen to them because you don't want anyone to ever experience that. And so you have to be very mindful that you're not creating that fear in them of something that they don't know of. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to create a fear in my child that doesn't exist because for whatever reason my brain is wired differently. You know what I mean? So it's very hard being a parent. It's very hard being a mom, and moms are very hard on themselves all the time. And I think it's ridiculous how we don't have more support for them, because it's always the mom's fault. I have found too in my recovery. It's if something happens to a child, say if there's a mass shooting, if it's there, that, then the other, who's the mom?
Yeah.
Who's the mom? What did they do? Where were they? Always. Not saying that that justifies a mass shooting by any means, or at the end of the day, that's a tragedy, and I'm not even going to go there. And I pray to God that me and no one ever has to experience that kind of stuff again, ever. But I just think that there's so much work to do. Like the first year is simply staying sober and doing the 12 steps. It doesn't have to be AA, it doesn't have to be NA. But whatever you do, you have to do something full force.
Yeah.
Because you have to have that self-awareness to survive in life. Because if you don't have that, then it's pointless. It's just pointless. You're just going to be dry knuckling it. You're wasting your time. Just going to the meetings, sitting there, listening to people talk, or now what's changed within the meetings is I found it's a very God complex. This is my experience. I'm not saying it for everybody, but what it is a big God complex for individuals that have these years of sobriety, and they go up there and it's just this constant like AA book, boom, 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 like what some people would call Bible thumping, okay? And I'm not saying that as a derogatory comment at all. I'm saying there's individuals that ruin it for others.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it's changed. Harm reduction has changed, and there's some I believe with it, and there's some I believe MAT. It's for everybody, you know what I mean? But I think that individuals need to be very mindful of what they choose, and I think that they need to be mindful when it comes to the rooms of AA, because this new generation of addiction, they're not going to AA anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's changed. We're not as harsh as we used to be. It used to be an issue that I took ADHD medication when I started getting sober, and I went through back and forth with my provider, everybody. Turned out I had to take it, but still now it's like you can, well, as long as they're not smoking crack.
Yeah.
You know? And I get it, but still, there was pride in your sobriety date, and I don't feel like there is anymore. I feel like gambling with sponsees is not okay. Like, I feel like there's just a lot of stuff that's lacking.
After the first year, you're still gonna have a lot of complications. Not gonna really, it's not gonna change the fact that life continues to go on.
Correct.
It's gonna be still gonna have hard days, hard situations, life situations happen. The important thing is don't let it discourage you.
Correct.
And just don't use, man. Definitely.
Yes.
You're gonna go through stuff. Find a good support system and just continue moving forward. You've been through a lot. You accomplished a lot. You continue to move forward. So tell me something before we wrap it up. What are some of the plans that you have for the future?
So I really believe in finding something that sparks joy within your life. And I know I'm taking that from Marie Kondo. It's not a direct quote, but it kind of is. But read her book. It's really interesting. It's about feng shui and organization. And it has to do with mental health too, because if you see clutter everywhere, that usually means how your mind's feeling right now. That's how I can tell self-awareness is freaking huge for your mental well-being. And my house is a complete wreck right now because I got 15 things going on at once, but that's okay. I give myself grace today and I don't have a full-blown meltdown. But you have got to find something that is not AA related, that's not NA related, that's not therapy necessarily related, that is simply creating or a hobby, playing basketball with a group of guys or a group of women that you do every Sunday. Camaraderie, community. The opposite of addiction is connection. That is, science tells us we are human beings and we need that connection. If we don't have that connection, then we're screwed. So, and they did that with the whole rat park study. I mean, it's been proven time and time again. So you need connection with people that are trustworthy, that will never, ever disclose something, regardless of what you go through with them, a sponsor, sponsee, sober friend, whatever, that you would never, ever put them in a situation to where you feel as though you need to post on your social media or tell someone about something they disclosed with you personally through a 4-step or something that was a traumatic event or anything like that. That's a huge violation of someone's well-being. And so be very mindful on who you choose as a sponsor, mentor, whoever you have, because it might seem like they have their best interest at heart, but they not always do, and that's okay. We're all human and we forgive today, but make sure that you're at a point where you're not so vulnerable to where that can be make and break for you. You know what I mean? And I think that you have to find that thing. I have a little storefront that I have. I don't have the store like anywhere out. It's like in the works. It's called the Daily Dopamine Shop because I grew up in the 90s. So Lisa Frank, all those bright, fun colors are like a huge thing for me that appeal to me and make me happy, I realize. And then I felt like for the longest time I had to act like I was just wearing black and white and freaking gray. And I'm just like, why? Like my home was set up for other people, what it should look like in the magazines. I'm like, F that, I'm done.
Yeah.
I want to have something to where I can make things that bring people joy right like that. Plus ADHD, I lose stuff all the time. Ask my husband, he hates it, but he helps me still. Like my keys, my phone, everything, it's a daily basis. I don't know where they are. But if it's colorful and bright, I can see it from a mile away. And that helps me too. So I do that like with key bangle, like the things that you can lose the most often, like your water bottle. I make lanyards for those. Or your keys, I make key bangles for those. Or things to put on the back of your phones that are sparkly and stuff like that. So, and I like do paintings and stuff like that I just go for it. You have to find something that feeds your soul. Please, that in therapy and processing the trauma, having that support group that doesn't just have to be AA or NA, you just have to go full in on it. And it has to be something therapeutic. Recovery Dharma is amazing. And I have found a lot with that program that talks about life after that first year. The stuff that comes up that we don't really talk about in AA, the stuff that comes up after that first year when you take away your major drug of choice, because it's scary. So check out Recovery Dharma. Just look at that book and read just a few pages of it, and it will speak to you in some way if that is what you're searching for, kind of thing.
Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Absolutely.
Good advice. Good, you know, a lot of you might have went through the same thing that we talked about today. You know, and if you have, hopefully you learned something from it, help you grow, help you be able to move forward in life. And don't forget to subscribe and share it, because you just never know, man. If this message reaches just one person, it can help change their life. That's what it's about. Help save a life, help save a soul. We thank you all for tuning in, and have a blessed day.
Have a blessed day.